I am Besfort Kosova from Balkan Green Foundation. I work as a researcher and also project manager in an EU-funded project. Balkan Green Foundation is a regional NGO that is very active in the field of energy and environment and also advocates for sustainable development. We are a regional organizations that we have partners with actors and partners from Albania, from Serbia, Montenegro, and Bosnia as well, and North Macedonia. We strive to become a regional large organization that will have a large influence in the field of the environment, because there is a need for and there is a potential to have an influence in these matters. The environment is a very important issue. Unfortunately, it has been overlooked. It has a very great potential to bridge the divide between communities, and it is an actor that can strengthen cooperation between countries and states and should be actively followed. In our experience as an organization, we had many examples of cooperations between ethnicities, concretely in a project that was active more in the local level, where stakeholders were interviewed, especially local communities that lived in areas that are more bypassed, so to say, from media and from the context, because everything happens in central points while local communities are more bypassed. And we had the chance to meet people there and see the problems that they were facing. And the environment is an important aspect. For example, in the community of Störce, we went there and we asked about the problems, because in order to solve issues, you have to know the problems. And the problems were basically the same as in other places, let's say, for example, in Albanian majority communities. So we have the same problems, we have the same similar issues that we are facing, and as such we will have basically the same outcomes and the same recommendations and the same forms of addressing these issues. For more, this is just a simple example of local level cooperation, while the larger, more central scale has to do with issues of transboundary pollution. We as an organization, we are not in the form to have a big influence or say in this. This is more concerning national states, but the environment has definitely a great potential. It is a joint issue, because it is going to create problems that will not allow the sustainable development of that municipality. And the stakeholders that have been affected have joint interests, and therefore have made sure to leave politics aside and solve the issues jointly and together. And practical cooperation between an initiating an environmental organization or an NGO was basically the catalyst who helped in order to create this cooperation. This is so to say, a rectifying assumption that environmental organizations or even simple organizations have an influence and have a say, and they can be catalysts for positive change, not just expecting from bigger stakeholders, from politics, to solve issues, because they are practically never going to do that, because politics is more about votes, while issues that are very important, such as environment, can be jointly addressed and solved when all the stakeholders that are practically affected by them take joint action. This is just one of the examples, because we had several other examples as well that did not get the media attention as much, because they were organized in more of an organizational level. For example, organizations that deal also with hydropower pollution, basically in national parks. They had joint efforts between two communities as well, but this has been done under an organized organization and therefore did not have so much of an influence in the media. But these are examples of positive cooperation that the environment and energy issues and nature protection can bridge people and bridge communities and create the momentum to advocate even for something bigger than that. Bigger than that means replicating models of successful development or models of successful cooperation possibilities. These can include projects that create energy savings that can be replicated in municipalities, for example. We are implementing now a project funded by the EU together with partners from the municipality of Klina and Has in Albania and in Kosovo. The aim of that project is to lower energy usage of municipal buildings by installing photovoltaic panels on top of the buildings that are owned by the municipalities respectively. And this project has been very successful, and the savings can be and will be used for projects that are in the environmental sphere. For example, such a project can be replicated also in other communities and other municipalities, also with the help of the EU, and this can create further momentum of cooperation between ethnicities. Living together means also a joint responsibility about the environment. That has been neglected many times, but now I think that people are becoming more and more aware about the environment, also because of increasing standards of living and also an improved economy. Before it was just the most important thing is production and the most important thing is economy, and now we are moving towards that stage where we are also considering the environmental costs and the health costs behind that. And so cooperation in this regard is just inevitable and is going to be the future. Basically, not just Szczerbce, but also places like Gračanica, for example, they face a lot of pollution. There is an industrial waste dump site close to the city. When you have high winds, it carries all the air pollution and the industrial pollutants that have been dumped in that illegal site into the city and creates massive pollution of soil and massive pollution of the earth and also water issues. And cooperation in that regard was also between both ethnicities, mostly run by the Serbian local population. They have advocated for this positive change. Unfortunately, local governments do not have a lot of power in changing the situation, and especially it becomes very critical and very difficult to have a change in the terrain when you have a lot of bureaucratic legal hurdles. For example, these companies that have built the hydropower plants, they had all the permits that they have basically needed to run the hydropower plants. The problem with that is that in the beginning of the construction phase before that and the public debates, the community was not involved as it should. And then you have problems with legitimacy in a way. The hydropower plants, they can be seen as legal, but not legitimate because the people do not support them. And in order for the people to have supported them in the initial phase, they should have been consulted with the local population that is being affected by them. And this has not been properly done. And then after 4 years or 5 years of an investor going to a ministry and going to an office, trying to get permits and doing the investment and finding the finances, he is going to be in a situation of conflict with the population because of his or because of the situation of not getting the population on track. And this is the very most important aspect. We have created a study as an organization about how this process is extremely important and even should be in the legal proceedings of the country. For example, in the permitting phase, the public has to be notified and a public debate ensured about the situation of, let's say, a hydropower plant investment. But it's not that the positive or negative reply of the community is going to be taken into account. If the community says yes, it doesn't matter. If they say no, it doesn't matter. They are still going to build the hydropower plant. And that is not democratic, and we think that this should be changed as an organization. For more, I mean that these small actions, they tell that basically we are the same people with the same problems, with basically the same mentality, and that joint solutions are the future, and that we should gather together and find solutions together in order to supplement each other and create better understanding of the situation at hand, and then finding the best solutions that are available for these situations, because none of these things are new. We just need to find the best examples on how to overcome them. Practically changing things is very, very difficult, but at least it can protect the waters and not allow the companies to go beyond what is theirs, because in many places we have seen that water was diverted even in the times when they did not have a permit to, because the water permit says that you can use the water between October and May and not run it constantly 24 hours 7. So not political, but social activism, especially when they are more organized under NGOs, they can have bigger impacts rather than just civic engagements towards solving an issue. That is important. That shows that there is a will to change things, but if it becomes more organized in an organization, let's say, under the umbrella of an organization or a coalition of organizations, then the effect is going to be much higher.